I need to run. Bye. Double arc star. Oh, no, game. So you want to improve your positioning and awareness skills in Apex Legends. Well, you've come to the right place. This video will guide strategies and opinions from some amazing Apex Predator and Diamond Rank players, so it's worth giving a listen to. Even if you are one of the best players in the world, you may learn something new from this video or be in need of a quick refresher, as we all forget the simplest of things from time to time. With that being said, let's get on with the video. To start with, positioning. I split the subject into two groups, which are your positioning strategy during a fight and your overall team's positioning strategy during a game. We're going to start with the individual. As my main man from Star Wars has once said to Anakin Skywalker, "It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!" Get the high ground. You hear this a lot, as it may get repetitive, especially with any game, but Obi-Wan said it first, and hell, he isn't wrong. If you're chasing an enemy through Skulltown, for example, and there are all these buildings around through the 4 branches that it actually has, climb onto the rooftops and do your best to shoot through windows and in between cracks that you may see. You're safer from getting shot, you have an advantage, and better yet, you won't be running into that building to receive a peacekeeper to the face. The aggressive pushing should be safe for women in labor and guaranteed kills in game. Make sure to also be using natural terrain the area you're in provides you. If you are moving out in the open during a fight or not, move from building to building instead, behind trees, rocks, or alongside canyon walls. This not only gives you something to hide behind when you start taking fire, but also makes you harder to see as opposed to being out in the open. Also, you should always do your best to push the top side of a hill. High ground! Being above an enemy player gives you a better angle to work with, as you can see their entire body, and all they have to shoot at you is your tiny little head. Make sure you aren't stacked on your teammates as well. You may be new to the game and learning and wanting to follow in your teammates' footsteps, and sometimes you're just a little too close to them, but you want to be in a position that you can help them without being up their ass the entire time. What you should focus on doing instead is being aware of where they are by keeping them in your vision if possible. It may be a game and peripheral vision isn't as keen on a screen than it is in real life, but it's still there, so use it. If a buddy starts to get overwhelmed by someone, have them rotate into your vision as he baits the enemies into your line of fire, and boom. And if you're trying to correct your spacing for the team, don't expect everyone else to pay attention, so a quick reminder can do more help than harm. My last video covered improving your movement and peeking skills, but going back to peeking, angles are everything. If you peek over a rock and get a few shots off, switch it up and peek on the other side of it or on top. Get creative even if you have to reposition yourself at different cover. Though this may not always work in every scenario, someone without movement options is usually going to lose a gunfight. More often than not, even if you aren't at full health, sometimes peeking from a different angle, repositioning yourself, or getting a flank off is more effective than healing. It's tricky to explain why, but you have to understand the flow of the battle and make these critical decisions as you play more and more. Then is when you'll have the answer to that question. Remember to always stay moving, as it's harder to hit a moving target than a stationary one. But you want to catch enemies by surprise rather than have them expect your next move. You want easy, simple kills with your movement skills being better than your opponents, which I went over in my last video if you haven't clicked the card already. Speaking of movement skills, a quick reminder is to use Legend's ability to reposition you and your team when possible. Pathfinder, Wraith, and Octane are all great options for this. The worst thing you can do with any Legend is hold and not use their ultimate ability thinking it would be wasted. Not using it is wasting it. A more movement skill is flanking. Even if you have to go around an entire canyon or city, if your team is confident in holding them off while you push, surprise, and hopefully down someone is a blessing. Now if you get third partied while alone or the flank just backfires, always have an escape plan in mind, because if you ever do flank a team, with time one of these unfortunate events will happen to you and you're gonna have to react to it. Now on to your team's positioning. This part of positioning is a little less important, but there may still be opportunities to use them and are good to have in the back of your head. The use of redeployment balloons to land on an enemy team is a lot of fun, but can give you the upper hand. If you are the aggroing team or the reacting team, it can be used to effectively screw up your opponent's positions where they may have had an advantage, but now you also mess up their thinking, leaving them to react spontaneously. You know where they are and what's happening, however, and you have the upper hand then. But there is a 2-second delay when landing to pull out your gun, but that animation can be cancelled by punching the ground at the right time while landing. I'm not sure if it's patched when this video goes out, so don't take my word on it. Using the circle to your advantage is extremely helpful. A lot of streamers or pro players talk about zoning enemies or gatekeeping them. In order to do this, you and your team should position yourselves between the enemy and the new circle, and as the circle closes, they are forced to push you and won't be able to avoid it as you will be expecting them. When the fighting starts, you will have your team and the circle dealing damage to the enemy, so it will be an easier kill as well. Another circle strategy is wrapping the circle's edge. This is very effective because pushing around it in either a clockwise or counterclockwise rotation, you effectively sweep the circle for enemy teams, and unless there's a team hiding outside circle, you won't be pushed from behind. This is way more useful in final circles than early circles, but is still worth giving a try. Now onto awareness, which is not just focused on positioning awareness, but things to be aware of in different situations. This one is simple, but knowing where your teammates are can really help out. You can be spread out, but if a fight breaks out you can't handle, you need somewhere to fall back to, and your team is the best place to do that so you can heal as they cover you. Communicating with your teammates when you can help them and they don't know it is important because it's better to have a teammate run at you to bait an enemy into you rather than running into a building where you can't lend a hand and help them. Another huge issue players tend to not understand is knowing when they are losing or in a bad situation. After dying, the excuses will start to build in an endless list, but at the end of the day, if you can't take the blame for your own mistakes, then you will always hide behind an excuse. And making mistakes is perfectly fine. In fact, I hope everyone here watching this video makes more mistakes because they are to learn from and help you down the road. If you keep making the same ones, however, you have to open up your eyes a little more and sit yourself down, maybe give yourself a slap or two and understand what's happening. Hopefully you are human, but mistakes are what make us human, and that is why they are so important. Expect the unexpected, as there's no excuse to not expect it. Not knowing the health or weapons an enemy has can make things scary, so playing more cautiously in that manner is important. It's not really a lengthy process, but more so a mere few seconds of getting an understanding of what exactly is happening at that time and situation. Also, look at the enemy and not your crosshair. I see a lot of people do this, and instinctively you will turn your character in the direction of which you are actually looking, which will land your crosshair on that enemy. And if it doesn't, you will learn from this, as your sensitivity may need some fine-tuning, or you just need practice. And make sure not to freak out by doing your best to stay calm, cool, and collective, but focused in any situation. The worst thing you can do is just aimlessly spray at an enemy hoping you kill them, because the odds are it isn't going to happen. Even mid-duel, if your aim is off, take a few millisecond breathers to recognize your bullets need to hit the player to kill them, then readjust and do your best. If you get down, it's alright, as you will get down a lot playing this game because sometimes RNG does take over. But if your squad envies failure and whenever you die, leave them, as they will never improve. You should always want to win, but failure is also a road to success, as you will learn from it and use that information next game to improve upon. It will also help you regain confidence in every 1v1 you encounter. Keeping up with the zone control is also important. Know what areas you and your team pass through and have secured recently enough that they should be safe. You should also be listening for gunfire to pinpoint other enemy teams, and think where other teams might have rotated towards since you haven't been there in a while. It's much harder in a larger zone, but as the zones get smaller, you should be doing the math, checking how many squads are left with where you know other squads are currently. It's also important to know that you can't always help, as it might just get you killed. Waiting out a situation and getting your teammate's banner is more important than your entire squad dying just trying to save one guy. Even then, if you can't get the banner, try and win the game, especially in ranked, as placement is vital for points. Getting ammo, health, and guns are more important off first drop than pushing a guy that has all of that and you will have nothing but your fist to fight him with. Though sometimes punching will help and will work, most of the time you should wait it out. Lastly, it is important to pay attention to armor. For enemies, use the in-game stacking damage indicator in the settings. It shows what color armor the enemies have, and make sure to pay attention to your own armor as well. Knowing your enemy's armor and if it's damaged or not is just as important to know their weapons or if they're reloading. Also, don't be too aggressive when you don't have the best armor, especially early game. It plays a huge factor, and it plays the role of whether or not you're going to die in that situation. Also, it's okay to pick up armor off the ground during firefights if your current armor is depleted, even if it's a worse rarity, because you can always pick up that depleted armor after you win the gunfight. So did you learn something today, come to an understanding on a tactic, or help refresh your playstyle, or are you still utterly confused or in need of help? Please tell me, as I will assist anyone who has questions or concerns in the comments below. And with that being said, I would like to thank you for watching the video. To drop a like, and of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for more awesome videos just like this, because I've been DistinctGamer. I'll see you all next time. Peace!